She accepted one final ride request before heading back to headquarters, never imagining the exhausted father climbing into her car had just spent his last $23 on a trip to a hospital where he believed he was about to lose everything. By the end of that single ride, a billionaire CEO would question every decision she had ever made, and one broken father would discover that hope sometimes arrives in the driver's seat when life feels completely empty. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel. Every bit of support helps our community continue sharing emotional stories that remind us even the smallest act of compassion can change someone's life forever. Vivian Sterling had built one of the fastest-growing ride-sharing companies in North America. Investors praised her innovation, magazines celebrated her leadership, and thousands of employees admired the woman who had transformed a small startup into a billion-dollar business. Yet despite all the success, Vivian followed one unusual tradition every month. On one bright afternoon each month, she drove anonymously using her own app. She wanted to understand what drivers and passengers actually experienced instead of relying only on reports and spreadsheets. Most rides were ordinary. Some passengers chatted happily while others quietly looked through their phones. Vivian listened carefully to every suggestion, complaint, and compliment, making mental notes about improving the service. Then she accepted a ride from a neighborhood clinic. A tall man wearing worn-out work clothes slowly entered the back seat. His shoulders looked heavy with invisible weight, and in his arms rested a little girl clutching a stuffed rabbit. The child smiled politely before resting her head against her father's shoulder. The man thanked Vivian with a tired voice before falling silent. During the drive, Vivian noticed the destination was a children's hospital across the city. Traffic slowed near a park where families laughed beneath the afternoon sun. The little girl watched children playing through the window with quiet longing. Her father gently squeezed her hand, forcing a smile that barely hid his heartbreak. After several minutes, the child quietly fell asleep. Only then did the father allow himself to cry. He turned toward the window, hoping the driver wouldn't notice the tears rolling down his face. Vivian pretended to focus on the road, giving him the dignity of privacy while quietly offering a box of tissues she kept beside the console. After a long silence, he apologized for making a mess. His name was Callum Hayes. He explained that his 8-year-old daughter, Elodie, had a rare heart condition. Insurance covered part of her treatment, but not enough. He had sold his truck, emptied his savings, worked double shifts at a warehouse, and even skipped meals so his daughter would never notice they were struggling. That afternoon they were traveling to meet specialists who might save her life. But there was one problem. The remaining treatment costs were impossible. Callum admitted he had already decided that after the appointment he would quietly begin preparing his daughter for disappointment. He wasn't giving up. He had simply run out of ways to keep fighting. Vivian gripped the steering wheel more tightly. She had spent years discussing profits, expansion, and quarterly growth. Yet sitting only a few feet away was a father whose greatest dream wasn't wealth. It was one more birthday with his daughter. When they reached the hospital entrance, Callum carefully carried the sleeping child from the back seat. He thanked the driver for listening without asking uncomfortable questions. Then he walked away. Vivian remained parked for several minutes, unable to start the next ride. For the first time in years, company statistics no longer seemed important. She quietly contacted her executive assistant and canceled every meeting scheduled for the rest of the afternoon. Instead of returning to headquarters, she entered the hospital. Without revealing her identity to Callum, Vivian met privately with administrators. She learned the family's situation was exactly as heartbreaking as he had described. The medical team believed Elodie's condition was treatable if funding arrived quickly. Vivian paid every remaining medical expense anonymously. But she didn't stop there. Reviewing Callum's employment history, she discovered he had once managed logistics before sacrificing career opportunities to care for his daughter. An idea formed. Several weeks later, after Elodie's successful surgery, Callum received an invitation for a job interview at the headquarters of a rapidly growing technology company. Confused but grateful, he attended. Only after entering the executive conference room did he recognize the woman seated across the table. It was the driver. Vivian finally introduced herself as the company's founder and CEO. Callum sat speechless. She explained that she hadn't offered charity because she pitied him. She had offered opportunity because she respected him. Any father willing to sacrifice everything without complaining possessed the integrity every company needed. Callum accepted a leadership position overseeing community partnerships, creating transportation programs for families traveling to hospitals with seriously ill children. His personal experience helped design services executives had never imagined. Soon the company introduced discounted medical transportation, volunteer driver programs, and emergency ride assistance for struggling families. Thousands of parents benefited. Employees proudly called it the company's most meaningful achievement. Months later, Vivian visited the same park where traffic had once delayed that unforgettable ride. This time she watched Elodie laughing as she chased Bubbles across the grass with other children. Callum stood nearby, healthier, hopeful, and finally able to smile without pretending. Vivian realized that one unexpected ride had transformed far more than a business strategy. It had transformed her heart. She continued driving anonymously every month, not because shareholders expected it, but because every passenger carried a story no spreadsheet could ever measure. The company's greatest innovation was no longer its technology. It became its compassion. Years later, industry leaders often asked Vivian the secret behind her company's extraordinary customer loyalty. She always smiled before answering. Success begins the moment people stop seeing customers as transactions and start seeing them as human beings carrying invisible battles. That lesson couldn't be learned inside a boardroom. It had been taught by a quiet father who climbed into the back seat believing he had reached the end of hope. Before we finish, we'd love to hear from you. Leave a meaningful comment and tell us, have you ever experienced unexpected kindness from a complete stranger that changed your life or restored your faith in humanity? If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Remember, the greatest journeys are not measured by miles traveled but by the lives we touch along the way. Sometimes, one ride, one conversation, and one act of compassion can become the beginning of someone else's miracle.